Sometimes new, sometimes old, sometimes overlooked, but always worth a second look. These are Pair of Dice Paradise's picks for the Games of the Week. Engines purring, goggles down, your seaplane is ready for takeoff. This is the type of thing that you would say while playing Wayfinders, in which intrepid explorers race to chart new paths through the skies and discover new island locations. In Wayfinders, published by Pandasaurus Games in 2019, 2 to 4 players will be collecting goods and delivering resources to various locations on a randomly generated map of tiles in their quest to establish the most profitable trade network. This is accomplished by assigning workers to various hangars where goods will become available, pulling your workers at just the right time to gain the resources that you need before your opponents do the same to you. These goods, which you hopefully obtained before your opponents did, are then used to travel across the islands and achieve the goals listed on the various tiles at each location. Additionally, each of these tiles has a unique scoring rule on it. So finding and then establishing trade routes on the tiles that combine best and synergize together will be crucial to maximizing a player's score at the end of the game. Speaking of the game, Wayfinders includes 45 island tiles, 60 resource tokens, a prop plane marker for each player, 20 worker meeples, 40 airstrip cubes, a resource bag, 4 player aids, and a board to represent the hangar where resources are delivered to and picked up from. Wayfinders is a lightweight, low-conflict game of exploration and waypoint acquisition. Even so, though, players are still going to need to think ahead in order to outfit their planes with the right gear to make it to their destination and then build hangars that are well stocked with the parts that they're going to need to travel further, faster, to the new islands that they are going to discover as the game progresses. So slap on your scarf and your fancy leather cap because adventure is out there just waiting to be found on an island represented by a small piece of cardboard in Wayfinders. Star Realms, published by White Wizard Games in 2014, is a fast-paced deck-building card game featuring 4 factions competing for control of the furthest reaches of the galaxy. It's a game that has stood the test of time and continues to hit the table. A big part of Star Realms is acquiring brand new ships and bases at the right time from the cards that are available face up in the trade row going across the center of the table. Players use the ships and the bases that they've purchased to generate combat points, which are used to attack their opponents and reduce their opponent's authority to 0. And once a player's authority level reaches 0, they lose the game, making their opponent, by the process of elimination, the winner. And even though each card in the game is associated with one of 4 different factions, players can still acquire and deploy ships and bases from all 4 factions freely. But still, focusing on a single faction as much as possible will allow a player to take advantage of certain card synergies, as many cards have powerful ally abilities that reward a player for deploying it in conjunction with ships and bases of that same faction. Now, while the damage inflicted in combat does reduce your opponent's authority, edging you ever closer to the win, players do still have a line of defense to mitigate this: outposts. Outposts are a form of bases which your opponents are going to have to destroy first before they can then attack you directly. Used strategically, they can be very helpful in keeping you alive. Used haphazardly, though, they would be less so, I would assume. Star Realms is a relatively straightforward deck-building game, but it's still filled with strategic decisions to make. The game has also been supported with expansions and promos, offering new content, rules, and twists to contend with. At this point, dozens of supplemental materials for Star Realms have been released, with additional content still on the horizon in 2020. Today, we're going to turn 5 ordinary dice into cold, hard cash as we explore Roll Estate. Roll Estate is a roll-and-write, push-your-luck game developed in 2019 by Chris Michaud, formerly known as Moderator Chris of the Flip the Table board game podcast, which ran 5 years and explored the obscure underbelly of the tabletop game hobby by playing a library of cheesy and weird games featuring a variety of strange themes. But Roll Estate is neither cheesy nor weird. Instead, is designed to be a love letter to the classics, where players roll and write their way towards wealth in a race to become the richest entrepreneur at the table. And how do they do this? Well, I will tell you that the players do this by rolling dice 3 times, keeping whatever they want between the rolls, and then using the result to acquire assets, such as rental properties, opening bold new businesses, trying their luck with some risky investments, or perhaps even winning the lottery, which I assume works much better in this game than in real life. But each asset in the game requires different combinations of dice to claim. For example, a sequence of 4 dice can be used to claim shares of the mass transit system, or their dice can be put into liquid assets, which can then be multiplied by stock indexes. The point is, you've got lots of dice and things you can do with that dice, and then write down what you do with what you've rolled. The first player then to claim all the rental properties in a row gets to open a business for big bonus bucks, immediately making that business unavailable to all of their opponents, because just like the real world, you can only have one instance of a business in any one town, which is why I have to travel 40 minutes to go to McDonald's. But all hope is not lost, because most rows have room for 2 businesses of decreasing value, while others contain only the one, leading players to compete for them before they're all gone. And once a player opens a 3rd business, well, then the end of the game is triggered. So if you're out there looking for a roll and write game with a classic vibe, you may find the print and play game Roll Estate to be a pleasant surprise! Discover the 7 wonders of the world on a table set for 2. This is 7 Wonders Duel. It may be tempting to compare 7 Wonders Duel to its precursor, 7 Wonders, a temptation which I also cannot avoid, so I'm going to do. Both games take place over 3 ages, during which players will acquire cards which provide resources or advance their military or scientific development in order to develop a civilization and complete magnificent wonders. And absolutely nothing is different in 7 Wonders Duel except for all the stuff that is, such as the game is designed solely for 2 players. Additionally, the players don't draft cards from their hands like some sort of chaotic mob. Instead, they draw them from a display that mixes together face-down and face-up cards, still a little bit of chaos going on there, which is arranged in different patterns at the start of each round. A player can only take a card from this display if it's not covered by any other cards, so timing becomes critical to not only obtaining the cards that you need, but from preventing your opponents from doing the same. As in the original game, each card that you acquire can be built, discarded for coins, or used to construct a wonder. Players can purchase resources from any time from the bank, or they can gain cards during the game that provide them with resources for future building. As a player acquires these resources, the cost for those resources increases for their opponent. Ha! Wonders are also present. Each player starts with 4 wonder cards, and the construction of a wonder provides its owner with a special ability. But only 7 wonders in total can be built, so one player is going to end up short. Ha! A player can win 7 Wonders Duel in one of 3 ways: by advancing their military marker towards their opponent's capital, acquiring any 6 of 7 different scientific symbols, or by simply being the player with the most points at the end of the game. Personally, I gotta admit that I enjoy 7 Wonders Duel a lot more than its multiplayer counterpart. So if you're looking for an excellent game for 2, I definitely recommend giving 7 Wonders Duel a try. Ha! The mythical realm of Hyperborea was ruled by an ancient civilization that used magical crystals as their main source of energy. But over time, the Hyperboreans became greedy, and their unquenchable scavenging for more power caused the crystals to become unstable, causing earthquakes, mutations, droughts, floods, and at least one case of uneven earlobe syndrome. Inevitably, avarice got the better of the Hyperborean civilization and was nearly completely destroyed in a single day. Today, the survivors reside in small outposts outside of Hyperborea, with the former knowledge of the crystals being nearly forgotten. Set in a mythical land of the same name, Hyperborea is a light civilization game for 2 to 6 players that takes an estimated 20 to 25 minutes per player. In the game, each player takes the role of the leader of a small kingdom situated just outside an unexplored and unconquered land. Each kingdom has limited knowledge of housing, trade, movement, warfare, research, and growth. How did they survive this long without any of that knowledge? But long-forgotten knowledge and powers are hidden deep within Hyperborea, waiting to be rediscovered by the players. During the game, each kingdom will grow in numbers, raise armies, extend its territory, explore or conquer, and learn new technologies. The game's main mechanism, which can only be described as bag building, involves building a pool of what can only be described as civilicubes. Each civilicube represents specialized abilities in war, trade, movement, building knowledge, or growth. Each specialty represented by a different color. But gray cubes are also taking up space in the player's bag, which they're trying to build, representing corruption and waste, which you don't want, especially in your bag of building. Each turn, players draw 3 random civilicubes from their bags and then use them to activate the knowledge and technologies that they have accumulated. Hyperborea combines civ building, exploration, and area majority with Euro-inspired gameplay to present a game with lots to see on the table and even more to think about while you play it.
What happens when 2 board game media makers join forces? I don't care. But if I did care, I would tell you that Marty Cannell from Rolling Dice and Taking Names and Chaz Marlar from Pair of Dice Paradise team up as Team Vest in this 24-inch by 14-inch playmat. Khaki gaming vest not included.